Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm your girl, Carla Renata, and I am back. And you know what I'm talking about today? I'm talking about all things wicked. Yes, I am. And then I'm going to bounce around and I'm going to talk a little bit about who my boy Denzel Washington in the Gladiator. But before I get into that, you know how I do. I talk about what I did the week before. And so, and I'm also going to have interviews from this cast of Landman, which is going to be on Paramount Plus, starring Billy Bob Thornton and Ali Larter, among other people. But before we get into all of that, let me come back on camera. Let me say hello. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up. Well, let me take this off. I was at a bridal shower, and that thing is moving around on me. It's getting on my nerves. Anywho, so I'd like to welcome everybody. And if you are on YouTube, give me a big thumbs up. If you are watching this via LinkedIn, Facebook Live, or any other platform, subscribe to the channel, child. You never know who you're going to see. And my boy Brandon, of course, he popped in and said that he said he likes the new season of Arcane. That's been amazing. And he said it's also hard to believe we're almost at the end of the year. I know. I was just thinking that today. I'm like, it is about to be December 1st in like 2 weeks. That is crazy. But thank you for popping through, Brandon. I appreciate you. All right, y'all. So I don't want to waste a lot of time. So this is what I did this week. You know, it's award season. Things are crazy. I'm running, I'm gunning, I'm doing all the things. But this is what happened last week. So after I signed off last week, this happened. This person, I think it's called Campus Sirius. I think it's called Campus Sirius. He posted my interview clip of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo chasing me around the interviewing room. And the last time I looked at it, it was 30 million views. I gagged. That's on his platform where he did not give me credit. So I felt some kind of way about that. But on his platform, it's 30 million views, and it is almost 1 million on my TikTok, and like, I don't know, close to like 60K or something on my YouTube. But thank y'all for watching. And then right after I heard from him, I got a message from the director of Avenue Q. Now, in case you didn't know, I was Gary Coleman in Avenue Q. Do I have that picture? Let me see if I put that picture in here. Oh, please tell me I did. I did not. But I was Gary Coleman in Avenue Q, and the director of Avenue Q reached out to me, and he said that very night that they had done a 18th anniversary concert in the West End. This is the original West End company. He said that the concert was sold out in 30 minutes. He and I both gagged. I was like, Avenue Q sold out in 30 minutes, because this is the gag. Avenue Q beat Wicked for the Tony in 2004. That's the gag. I'll get into that when I start talking about my review on Wicked. And I told you I have the cast of Landman, but I went to the celebration of Asian Pacific Islander actors, which is sponsored by the Critics' Choice Association, of which I am a member and a board member. And I went there to celebrate those actors. And then I hopped on over to this thing that's called, I didn't put any of these pictures up. I'm sorry, y'all. It's called The Killer Women of Comedy, and it was sponsored by NBC and Peacock. And I'm sitting in the chair, and this person comes up to me. Y'all know who that is? That's Lauren Ash. She played Dina on Superstore, which is hilarious because I was sitting in a chair, and she walked right on up to me and was like, "Hello, Janae." Inside joke. The very first episode I ever did on Superstore, or one of the first 2 episodes I did on Superstore, she would call me Janae instead of Janet. And it's like a little private joke between the two of us, but I loved her for that. She used to make me laugh so, so hard. I also ran into these lovely people. This is Gray Drake next to me on your right, Rose Abdu, who's on Hacks, and Kate Flannery, who was on The Office, who also did Dance with the Stars. So we were all there celebrating the women in comedy, as well as my good girlfriend and little theater sister, Stephanie Shu. Y'all know her from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And then, of course, I moderated another conversation, Nickel Boys. This time, Ingenue Ellis Taylor joined us, and I'll be doing another one, with them tomorrow. I'm also going to be talking about this animated movie called Spellbound. I love it so much. It's on Netflix. But before we get into that, let me get into these other comments that I did not see. Oh, so Brandon says, and not only Moana 2 is my anticipated movie of the month, even Spellbound on Netflix. I'm going to talk about that, Brandon. Also, I'm excited for Sonic 3 and Lord of the Rings anime movie next month. I saw all of that. So I'm going to talk to you about that. You said you've been watching the new PBS animated series called Carl the Collector, which has a raccoon character that's on the spectrum. I love that. So that really probably was of great interest to you. And then Sav Productions, you said, yeah, I remember you on that show and I gagged. That is hilarious. I'm assuming you're talking about Avenue Q or Superstore, one of the two. And then Brandon saying, I'm hearing Spellbound is great. Spellbound is great. So let's get into it, talking about Miss Spellbound. I loved this. It is streaming on Netflix, and it is an animated feature that is directed by Vicky Jensen. It's produced by John Lasseter. He's done 5,000 different animated projects. David Ellison, Linda Wolverton, Bruce Anderson, and Dana Goldberg. The music is by Alan Menken and Glenn Slater. We know him from Beauty and the Beast and so many other animated features. And the cast, the voiceover cast, is Rachel Ziegler from West Side Story, Nicole Kidman, Javier Bardem, John Lithgow, Jennifer Lewis, Nathan Lane, Titus Burgess are the cast. Spellbound follows the adventures of Elian, who's played by Rachel, a tenacious young daughter of the rulers of Lumbria, who must go on a daring quest to save her family and kingdom after a mysterious spell transforms her parents into monsters, therefore making them spellbound. Get it? I knew that you would. Anywho, I loved this animated feature for a couple of reasons. So one of the reasons I love it so much is the music just sinks you. I'm only sure it's a matter of time before this becomes a Broadway musical, because it just screams I need to be on Broadway. So there's that. It's in the lane of one of those, like a Beauty and the Beast, like I said, which has such gorgeous, sweeping, soothing type of scores that Alan Menken and Glenn Slater are known for, who did the music for this film, as I mentioned. But Spellbound isn't a traditional fairy tale. Like, you see kings and queens and princesses and all of that. But with this film, Vicky Jensen was eager to ground the genre in a modern twist. So we start with the familiar, like I said, the kingdom, the king, the queen, the this, the that, and a spell. But after that, we could use all of that to express the story of this family. And at the heart of it, it is a daughter who desperately just wants her mother and father back in normal form so that they can be a family, and she can be a princess and be, and have her parents scold her or just have them show their love in a traditional way. Rachel Zegler voices this to perfection. Titus Burgess and Nathan Lane as as like I guess they're like the wise men or something, that they come in. They're hilarious, the two of them together. I need an animated feature with just the two of them by themselves. Jennifer Lewis, honey, is just being Jennifer Lewis. Her and two other characters have a whole dance number where they're dancing and they're getting down. It is everything. That's what I'm telling you. It needs to be on the Broadway stage. I was there for all of it. I really, really was. What are y'all saying in here? Y'all just talking. Superstore was a great show. Oh, I was one of your favorite characters. Thank you, baby. I appreciate that. Get the voice of Carl is also on the Spectrum show. Oh, I love that. And plus, I can't wait for Christmas. I'm kind of ready for this year to be over. The tail part of this year was kind of booty, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. You never heard of Spectrum. So let me explain to you. Brandon is on the Spectrum, And so when I was over at Black Hollywood Live, he would draw me pictures. And he's a wonderfully gifted artist, and he's on the spectrum. So he's particularly interested in things that pay attention to that, or give that some attention, because not enough projects do. Let me know if I'm right, Brandon, so that I'm not speaking out of turn. All right, so I would say Spellbound is not streaming on Netflix right now. It will be streaming on the 22nd, which is in a few days. But trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. Now, I also saw this film that I don't have a picture for. It's called The Porcelain War, and it opens in New York in a couple of days on 11/19, and then it opens in LA on 11/29. It was the grand jury winner at Sundance, and what it does, and it's co-directed by and I'm probably going to butcher their names, and I'm so, so sorry, by Slava Leontev and Anya Stasenko. They are people that they show you how they glaze and make porcelain figures, but they are doing this in the midst of the chaos and the war that's happening in the Ukraine. It's like the opening is fantastic. It opens, the opening is like between colored films and the war in Ukraine, colored fields rather. So when you open, you see them walking through fields with their dogs, and they're playing, and they're happy, and they're smiling, and then it automatically goes from that colored picture to black and white, where you see war torn, bombed out streets in the Ukraine, and this is around 2022. Then you see them walking through this bombed wreckage with their dog in their hand. Honey, if that isn't an image that will tear you up from the inside out, I don't know what is. Amidst the chaos and the confusion of this brutal Russian invasion of Ukraine, these artists find inspiration and beauty as they defend their culture and their country. This is a beautiful documentary. If you can get to a theater to see it, it is called Porcelain War. You will not be sorry. Another documentary I want to tell you about is called Never Look Away. I talked about this earlier in the year. It was a documentary that was produced by Lucy Lawless about Margaret Moth. And I mentioned Margaret Moth earlier this year, a couple of months ago, when I spoke to Kate Winslet about Lee. Margaret Moth was like this badass camera journalist for CNN who left no stone unturned, inspiring her colleagues and strangers and camera journalists globally. She was a war journalist, and she got her face blown off in the process of her doing that job. That did not stop her. The only thing that literally stopped her is that she got diagnosed with cancer in 2010 and lost her life. But Never Look Away is a story of a woman journalist in war-torn countries, something that we very rarely seen, and up until her, hardly saw at all. It was her and Lee Miller that paved the way for all of the women journalists, photojournalists that are out there now. So check out Porcelain War and Never Look Away. Before I get into Gladiator, I'm gonna see what else y'all are talking about. um, you said, what did you say? Moana 2 is in 2 weeks. Yes, it is, and I'll tell you all about that. You said you're definitely going to check it out. You love representation, of course. And Brandon says, also, it's all animal populated, and the main character is a raccoon. That's the series that you were talking about. So yes, please pay attention to the things that Brandon tells me about, because I can't get everything, and Brandon be keeping me on point. He be keeping me together. So check out everything that has been recommended by Brandon as well. So let me get into this Landman situation, honey. Landman is a show that is streaming on Paramount Plus right now. It's kind of like a cross between like The Godfather meets Yellowstone meets Dallas. It's like The Godfather meets Yellowstone meets Dallas. Now just put that in your head real quick so that you can kind of figure it out. It is bananas. But it's created by Taylor Sheridan. And if that name sounds familiar to you, Taylor Sheridan created Yellowstone. He created so many. What other show did he create? He created so many other things, but this show called Landman is based on a Boomtown podcast that talks all about Texas and the oil situation and how people navigate in those worlds. So he's taken that podcast and adapted it into a melodramatic television series. Are you with me? Okay, good. So deep in the heart of West Texas, roughnecks and wildcat billionaires try to get rich quick in the in the oil business as oil rigs begin to continue to dominate the state. Crisis executive Tommy Norris tries to bring his company to the top of a fueling boom. This cast is so stacked. It's got Demi Moore, John Hamm, Billy Bob Thornton, Ali Larder. I mean, the list goes on and on. But you know what? I'm going to let the cast tell you more about it than me because they are getting it. So take a look and listen to this interview with the cast of Landman on Paramount Plus. Miss Allie, I said this to you off camera. I'm going to say it again on camera. I didn't think I could love you more after Legally Blonde and Obsessed, but you have done it, honey.
Thank you.
You have done it yet again.
Thank you.
Oh my God. And you don't age. What are you doing?
That is not true. You're so
Girl,
sweet. We have gorgeous lighting.
No, Diva, you are like the Benjamin Buttons. You are like the Benjamin Buttons of this series.
You are so sweet. You know what? I mean, kind of though, because there's moments where, you know, she is so put together and fabulous hair and makeup and the jeans and all that, but you also see Angela with no makeup on falling apart, and those are not very glamorous scenes. And I think that as an actor, that's what I want to play. You know, you want all sides of the rainbow. You don't want to just show some one-dimensional side. So I'm not scared of looking bad on camera or really showing that, because you get to show just a vulnerable side, you know, within her.
I love how you doing a humble brag, Allie, but you look pretty and gorgeous regardless of whether you got a face on or not. We're not even going to go there. Like, really? I can't. So let's talk about that Boomtown podcast. Did you listen to this to prepare for your character?
Of course. So Christian Wallace, you know, his family grew up in the Permian Basin, which is Midland, Odessa, in West Texas. And so he did this extraordinary podcast, which was an eye into the real world of oil. And then you have Taylor Sheridan, who also grew up in Texas, but, you know, really comes within knowing, like, how to create these dynamic characters and amazing storylines. And the two of them together were like this magic potion to really be able to tell this story. And so I think that, you know, Christian brings an authenticity to this that you can feel on this show. And Taylor brings these incredibly colorful characters that, you know, make it kind of immensely watchable.
Getting to deep dive a little bit about the oil industry and learning a little bit about how dangerous it is. And also reading the scripts, it's a dirty industry. And so getting to dive into that and yeah, being able to play these amazing women. The women in the show are just amazing, and they're the backbone. I would say.
Yeah, I had the Boomtown podcast on the plane to Texas for my audition. I made sure I listened to it because he goes through, each episode has its own topic of a different aspect of this lifestyle in the Permian Basin. So Boomtown is an amazing listen and very educational, very helpful. And yeah, it helped build these characters. These you learned sort of the ways of the world through that podcast, and then it helped you create your character.
Yeah, how did listening to that prepare you for jumping into this world? Because for me, this world kind of feels like, and bear with me, it kind of feels like The Godfather meets Dallas meets Yellowstone. You know what I mean?
That's a great. I love that. That's true. I listened to it when Taylor reached out to me, 3 or 4 years ago, and said, I'm doing this show based on this podcast. So I immediately got on my iPhone that's made by petroleum, and plugged in the thing and put in my ear pods that are made out of petroleum. And listened to this podcast. And the first thing I thought is, 2 episodes in, I thought, oh gosh, how is he going to transfer this story that's in your head, the oral audio story, this podcast, to something dramatic on the screen? That was the biggest thing. And then I read the pilot and the second episode, and I could have put it down, and Taylor did it. So that was the biggest thing for me, is this crazy, wild, amazing world out there in West Texas. How are we going to put that on screen? That was my biggest.
I listened to the podcast, and what was amazing was how I got sucked into that thing, and the people that he talked about, and the people that are on there. They sound like people I know. They sound like people in this show, And I'm thinking, That's where that came from.
Yeah.
Now I see where Taylor brought those stories to life.
I'd listened to it. We were already there for pre-production. I think I listened to it in like January or something. But as far as helping with the character and getting the feel, I think it gave a huge sense listening to these people who lived it in real life every day.
Yeah.
I think it gave a real sense of their emotion and the pride that they had behind it and really what goes into the job. So it did really help on preparing for that sense of going into this character.
Listen, though, but you made Angela very multifaceted. Like, that's a character that easily could have been, she could have gone really wrong really quickly. But you made her multi-layered and multifaceted. She's funny, she's hard, she's empathetic, she's sympathetic. My favorite scene of all is when you had the family dinner. You went through all that drama and had a family dinner.
The bolognese.
Baby and folk carried on, and you were not having any of it.
It was so, I mean, that's probably one of the hardest scenes I've ever done in my life. It was like 8 minutes long. We shot it all in one
take.
You never get to do that, you know? It was just unbelievable. And then to be able to, you know, sit and have the family dynamic when you see everybody together. And, you know, this is her trait. Like, her making the most beautiful dinner is how she's trying to put her family back together. And she puts so much pressure on herself for it to be perfect. And when it all kind of implodes and then people don't see it and you see her break down, you know, it was real. And like, that was amazing that, you know, I get to have all these different layers in her, and you don't always get that. So I thank you so much for saying that. And I really feel like it's in Taylor's writing. And then for me, it was just essential to always find the humor, find the love, find that, you know, for her.
But you know, there was this one episode that you had where you let, I can't remember who he is, but I'm not sure if he's your boyfriend or your ex-husband or who he is. But he came to the lawn and drew a gun on Jacob's character. And you let him have it. And then not only did you let him have it, but you were like, and watch this. I loved you for that.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
so invested in that moment. It was so great.
I auditioned with that scene.
Did you?
And so as soon as I read it, I was like, Ariana, we love you. So yeah, I mean, getting to do that scene, so fun.
You're in a world where misogyny is rampant. How do you feel being two women in the Hollywood zeitgeist where misogyny is rampant? And how do you cope with that, or how do you sweep it under the rug so that you can go ahead and do your thing?
I think you have to know your boundaries and make sure that you express them and know that something that's asked of you, no means no. So it's really sticking to your own boundaries and morals.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree. I've learned to become very vocal about things that I'm passionate about, and call people in and to just talk about it, especially being in the Latino community. Just knowing your worth and knowing that you deserve to be in the room that you are in with the people that you are in. Imposter syndrome is a really big thing for me, but it's just like I earned to be here and I belong here.
Since I know you come from country music, did you contribute any music to this season?
Everything inspires me, conversations, whatever. This script inspired me. So I called Billy and I go, hey, what about this idea? And he said, I like that idea. So he and I have written a couple things that will probably be a part of this show. And
That's news to me. That's great.
Ooh,
That's
I got an exclusive.
You
Hey!
did. Oh, I'm really
You sat
excited
up in your
now.
chair, you're like, ooh, that's
Maybe
news
I
to
will.
me.
You got a Mark Colley song?
Well, maybe I'm not singing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't want to get out of it. I got to be the sheriff.
Yeah, that's right.
But we got Billy and I wrote a song with a band called Flatland Cavalry. It's going to record, and it's called Midland After Midnight. And that's the first song that he and I talked about, and it's the first song we wrote. Thinking about this song, this story, and I don't know how it'll do, but you never know. It might be looking for love in all the wrong places.
Ooh, okay, well, I can expound upon that.
Which would be perfect.
Yeah.
It'd be Johnny Lee hit. But anyway, thank you for asking that. But
Yeah.
I can't help but write songs. I write songs all day. It's all I do.
the writing is spectacular on the show, but it takes an artist to bring it to life. And you brought it to life spectacularly. You really,
you so
really did.
much.
It was so
Thank you.
much my pleasure to watch you in the show.
Thank you so much. You're
Girl,
so
you were
sweet.
fantabulous.
Thank you.
Let's get a season 2.
Woo! Let's go. I agree. Come on.
Yes.
Your mouth to God's ears.
Girl.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Allie.
Thank you so much.
Let me tell you something. I remember you from Nashville. That was my jam. I just had to get
thank
that
you.
out.
Thank
I
you.
really just had to get that out.
Thank you.
And Jacob, you my dude. You my dude. You my
He's
dude.
mine too.
Thank you.
And you're my dude too, because you're from Missouri.
That's right.
I'm from Missouri.
No way.
Is that
where?
right?
I'm from St. Louis.
Oh, lovely. Joplin here. Yeah.
Okay.
The other corner.
Okay, right? All the way on the other end. I
That's
love that.
right.
I love you. I love y'all.
Well,
I
thank you.
love this show. Thank you so much for
you.
giving me the time to talk to you today. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Have
See
a
ya.
great day.
Y'all are going to get your entire life with Landman. Again, it is streaming on Paramount Plus. Now let's get into Miss Gladiator, honey. Miss Gladiator. Let me fluff up the hair because I'm looking crazy. Let's get into Miss Gladiator. All right. Now, first of all, this is Gladiator 2. And it's picking up where Gladiator 1 left off. And if you don't remember, or if you didn't know, in the first Gladiator, the Gladiator was played by Russell Crowe. He won an Oscar for his role in this film. He later on would, and it was during the time where him and Denzel Washington would always be up against each other for Oscars, and Denzel would always win. This was the one time Denzel Washington didn't beat Russell Crowe for an Oscar, but he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance in Gladiator, and he's been nominated, like I said, 2 other times for Best Actor for The Insider and A Beautiful Mind, making him the 9th actor to receive 3 consecutive Academy Award nominations. Now, is also directed by Ridley Scott. He directed the first one, he's directing the second one, and it continues the saga, the epic saga of power, intrigue, and vengeance set in ancient Rome. So years after witnessing the death of revered hero Maximus, played by Russell Crowe, at the hands of his uncle Lucius, played by Paul Mescal, he's forced to enter the Colosseum after his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome with an iron fist. With rage in his heart and a future of the empire at stake, Lucius, played by Paul Mescal, must look to his past to find strength and honor to return glory of Rome to its people. When I saw this movie, I was like, this is the reason why people have to go to the cinema to watch a film. Like you cannot watch Gladiator on your TV screen. You literally need to go to a movie theater to watch this movie. It is a spectacle of epic portions, and it bears the respect and reverence of watching it in that way. Having said that, Denzel Washington is giving a performance that I believe is the culmination of every performance that you've seen him do along the years. It's almost like he's honoring himself, but he does it with very little dialogue, as only Denzel Washington can do. He does this little thing with his fingers. He is giving you Judas as a Roman. He's giving you Judas as a Black Roman, and I was there for every single solitary second of it. Through the grapevine, people are saying that he's probably going to win an Oscar for this. I think he may get nominated for an Oscar. I don't know if he might win, but he's definitely going to grab a nomination for this, because this was quintessential Denzel Washington. It's very intense and gritty and gripping. There are 5,000 fight scenes, and they all are like 5,000 years too long. But having said that, they are, you can't stop, you can't turn away. You're like, oh, what's happening? Oh, what? You can't turn your head away as to what is happening. You just can't do it. It's absolutely fascinating. And I love seeing, and I'm just going to flip it back to Denzel Washington. I love seeing Denzel Washington in roles that you don't traditionally see Black people or Black men in on the silver screen. It's taking place in the Roman Empire. There were Black people in the Roman Empire, but do we ever see that on the silver screen? No, we do not. I was there for all of it. Ridley Scott's Gladiator 2 is amazing. It's amazing. And it is going to make a whole lot of money for everybody involved. It's hitting theaters this week. There's a bunch of movies coming out this week on November 22nd, and Gladiator will be one of them. Do yourselves a favor and check that out. I just want to pull up this one picture of Denzel because it just bears showing. Like, how could you not look at that man? He is so deep and so great. And not only is his film dropping on the 22nd, but his son's film, The Piano Lesson, is dropping on the 22nd. It's coming to Netflix with this lovely woman, Danielle Deadweiler, and John David Washington. I've told you guys about this film before. I saw it at Telluride. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about it. But now we're going to get into Wicked Part 1. So let me come back on camera and explain a couple of things to y'all about Miss Wicked. So the musical version is like 3 hours, 2:45, I want to say, is what the musical version is. The film version is about the same. It's almost 3 hours long, but it flies by. I'm telling y'all, it flies by. Now, let me give you some facts about Miss Wicked. So Wicked is in the Wizard of Oz family, right? And when the Wizard of Oz was made into a film in 1939, it was universally panned. They talked about that movie. They talked about that movie so bad, and the same thing happened to Wicked. Wicked is produced by Universal Studios, is directed by John M. Chu. Cynthia Erivo is playing Elphaba. Ariana Grande is playing Glinda. Michelle Yeoh is playing Madame Morrible. Jonathan Bailey is playing Fiyero. Ethan Slater is playing Bach, and Marissa Bode is playing Dessa Rose. Now, these are some facts about the Broadway show. It was adapted from a book by the same name for Broadway and adapted for the Broadway stage by Winnie Holzman, who also adapted the Broadway and the book version for this film version. Are you with me so far? Okay, good. When Wicked premiered, had its opening night on Broadway, the critics eviscerated it the same way that they did The Wizard of Oz. The New York Times found almost nothing to their taste in Wicked. As a matter of fact, they said that they were unimpressed with the songs that were filled with now classic show tunes like For Good and Defying Gravity. They said its swirling poparetta score sheds any glimmer of originality. That's what the New York Times said about Wicked, which has now been on Broadway for over 20 years. They didn't even like Elphaba, and they said, despite the green skin, Elphaba is a bizarrely colorless role, all furrowed brows, sincerity, and expansive power ballads they wrote, allowing that Menzel miraculously finds the commanding presence in the plainness of her part and will dazzle audience members whose musical taste runs to soft rock stations. And that wasn't all. The New York Magazine said about Kristen Chenoweth that she sang worthless songs. The New York Daily News dismissed Wicked as an interminable show with no dramatic logic or emotional center, constantly lurking in different directions. The show seems to believe that whenever you reach an artistic impasse, you just throw money at it. In this case, $14 million. Well, baby, all of them were wrong, because 20 some odd years later, Wicked is still running on Broadway, and Avenue Q, which beat Wicked for the Tony, is closed. Just saying. Having said all of the things, did I tell you what they said about The Wizard of Oz? I didn't. I'll have that in my review about what they said about The Wizard of Oz, but baby, they let The Wizard of Oz have it too. It received mixed reviews too. So now to this version of Wicked, the screen version of Wicked. So, but before I get to that, there is going to be, let me find it. In a couple of days on December 19th, NBC it's going to stream on Peacock. They're doing an exclusive journey into Oz with the all-star cast from Wicked. It's called Defying Gravity, The Curtain Rises on Wicked. And what they're going to do is it's going to air 3 days prior to the worldwide release, which is going to be on November 22nd. It's filmed on the movie's stunning Emerald City set with all of the cast, as I stated, and they'll share personal memories, intimate video diaries, and revealing secrets about their personal journeys through the making of this Universal Pictures film. So if you don't have that in your calendar, mark your calendars for Tuesday, November 19th to check out Defying Gravity, The Curtain Rises on Wicked. All right, so then let's talk a couple of little things about Wicked while I have you. This music, oh, I forgot about this. So that was when I was talking to Paul Tazwell and the makeup artist for the girls on Wicked. And I just wanted to point it out because these costumes in the back, especially Glenda's costume behind me and Elphaba's costume, all of those costumes were meticulously done by Paul Tazwell, who's sitting there. And that bomber jacket that I have on is a bomber jacket that he designed specifically for Target. So if you want to go to see Wicked and be in the full throes of being in Wicked, mode, they have a whole line of clothing, shoes, accessories, all kinds of stuff in Target and Walmart that has all been designed by Paul Tazwell. All right. So this is what I want to tell you. This movie is visually stupendous. I have never seen anything like it. It is like Oz on steroids. It is so spectacularly beautiful. It really, really is. It stays true to the source material. And what I mean by that is that, remember I said a little earlier that there's a book called Wicked. It's about 500, 900 pages long. Well, the musical is based on that book. And that book deals with the witches before we meet Dorothy. So this is the witches' backstory before we meet Dorothy and go into the Wizard of Oz. That's what Wicked is. It stays true to the source material. And that was important for me because a lot of times when they adapt these musicals these Broadway musicals to put them on celluloid for a feature film, they add new songs that don't make no sense. They have a whole A-list cast, none of them, nobody's been on Broadway ever in a Broadway show. Jeff Goldblum's been on Broadway. Cynthia Erivo won a Tony being on Broadway. Ariana Grande starred on Broadway. Jonathan Bailey does Shakespeare all the time. Like almost everybody in that company has been in a musical or been on Broadway or in the West End at some point. So I was living for all of that they actually got Broadway people to do the film. It's sung live and not to track. And what that means is, again, usually when they do these musical movies, they record the music ahead of time and people lip sync for the sound quality. But now we're in the digital era and you can do so many things with sound in feature film, especially shooting Wicked the way that they did. I think they shot it in 16 millimeter. So when you're shooting like that, you can make the sound as crisp and clean as you want doing it live. And the other thing about doing it live is, as somebody who comes from Broadway and has done Broadway shows live, there's an energy that you get from singing live that you can't get from lip syncing. So Ariana and Cynthia were adamant about singing their songs live, and they did it, and spectacularly so. All of the performers are grounded and immersely Ozian. Like everybody is just, they're there for the ride. They're doing their thing. The costumes, the production, the sets, the makeup is exquisitely stunning. I mean, I really can't say enough about it. There's going to be Oscar nominations for days with this show. From the top all the way down to the bottom, they're going to get Oscar nominations. And I'll be really surprised if they don't. But I do want to say this. It does make sense that Elphaba would be cast as a Black woman. And I know that some people were kind of like, well, why is Cynthia Erivo doing it? Let me tell you something. Black people get ostracized and are othered all the time. Elphaba is somebody that was born green. Black people are people that are born some varying shade of Black, brown, yellow, caramel, Hershey's chocolate brown, and we're othered all the time. So it makes sense to me that Elphaba would be a Black woman, because a Black woman can tap into the emotions of being different better than anybody else on this planet for obvious reasons. And I love that they made that casting choice. They go in hard in this film with their ideology on racism, politics, control, and it's even more relevant today than when that show hit Broadway in 2003, winning the Tony in not winning the Tony for Best Musical, but winning 3 Tonys in 2004. They won for Best Musical, they won for Best Costumes, and they won for Best Set Design. And FYI, but not really, the woman Susan Hilferty, who did the costumes for Wicked, also did the costumes for 2 of the Broadway shows that I did, The Who's Tommy and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. So, and I think a few years ago, they gave her an honorary Tony for her work in the theater. I can't say enough about this musical. I can't say enough about this film. It's really special. Let me see. Why did you ask? Where did you say Denzel with a question mark? You said love Wizard of Oz and Wicked. This is why I don't trust critics except Carla. I appreciate that, but I'm just gonna tell it like it is. And there are gonna be some people that aren't gonna like Wicked because they either didn't like the Wizard of Oz, they're gonna have a problem with Elphaba being black, they're gonna have some issue that is really obsolete that they're gonna glob onto and have something to say. But I'm telling you right now, everybody in that theater that was sitting by me was in the ugly cry, critic or no critic. They was all boo-hooing, and if they say they wasn't, they a lie. I'm telling you right now, they were crying. I do have faith in Moana 2 that's going to be great as the original. I heard that Moana 2 actually isn't that bad. I'm going to see it, I think, this week. No, I'm going to see it in a couple of weeks, right before the holidays. So I'll be able to tell you about that weekend. And it does look really great. You said you agree with what I said about Black people being othered, I'm pretty sure. Because I see the black and the green and the red. You saw the trailer for Wicked and it looks magical. Baby, magical doesn't even begin to describe what Wicked is. Wicked is going to be talked about and studied. This film version of Wicked is going to be talked about and studied for centuries and decades way beyond our human life. I'm telling you right now. I love the fact that it was directed by someone of color. John M. Chu is Asian. I really think that it starts from the top down. And John M. Chu did Crazy Rich Asians, and we saw what he did with that. Why did anybody think he was going to go into Wicked and it wasn't going to be spectacular? I don't know anybody that thought that. I sure didn't think he was going to mess it up. I thought, oh, John M. Chu is doing this. It's going to be fabulous. But yeah, I can't say enough about it. But I did want to get into it at the beginning and give y'all some insight into the history of Wicked, because a lot of people don't know some of the stuff that I said. And they don't know that it's been running on Broadway. They don't know they're still touring the world. There are companies of Wicked all over the world. Wicked is coming here in 2 weeks, and it's going to be here through the holiday season. So, this is the thing. It is an unconventional fairy tale, but more than that, it's a story about 2 friends who saw eye to eye, and then one of them, her ambition made them go like this. And everybody that has a friend where you have lost track of that person, or you have fallen out, or whatever the case may be, everybody can relate to that story because everybody has had that experience. And that's what I will say about Wicked. So, having said all of that, let me just reiterate. Wicked will be in theaters on November 22nd, as will The Piano Lesson, as will Gladiator. You also want to check out Spellbound when it hits Netflix on 11/22. There's a lot of stuff coming on 11/22, right? And what was the other? Oh, and Landman, which is running on Paramount Plus with Billy Bob Thornton. That's not Billy Bob Thornton in that picture, but Billy Bob Thornton is in that series. I'm just saying. And that's it. When I come back next week, so I'm going to hit y'all one good time right before we get into Turkey Day. When we come back, I'm going to talk about, I know y'all about tired of me talking about this movie. I'm finally going to talk about Blitz. I'm going to be talking about a movie that I saw that I absolutely love called September 5th. I'm also going to be talking about a film called Queer. And what else am I going to be talking about? And a series called A Man on the Inside. I spoke to let me come back on camera real quick. A Man on the Inside stars Ted Danson and Stephanie Beatrice. If you don't know that name, Stephanie Beatrice was one of the voices in oh God. Help me out, y'all. I can't remember what it is. It's one of them Disney things. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say. I'm tired. I forgot what I was gonna say, but anyway, Stephanie Beatrice did one of them Disney things. It was huge. It was written by Lin-Manuel. Encanto. Thank you. Ooh, I was thinking something else that wasn't even right. That's why I didn't even say it. Thank you, baby. Encanto. Stephanie Beatrice was the lead actress in Encanto. Her and Ted Danson are on this series that's going to be on Netflix called A Man on the Inside, and I'll talk about that when I come back next week. And Queer and September 5th and Blitz. And then when I come back on December 1st and 8th, I'll be talking about some other movies like The Order, and I'll have Journey Smollett. I have the whole cast from The Order that I'll be talking about, and The Last Showgirl I'll be talking about. I like Encanto too. What were you saying? Still hard to believe we are getting Toy Story 5 and Zootopia 2. I know. They love them sequels, honey. And you said, I know Toy Story 5 is wondering what it will be about. It's shocking one. I know. I mean, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I say. If it ain't broke, don't freaking fix it. I could, and honestly, right now, we could just deal with some real good, happy stories, because we've had a hellish couple of weeks, and, happiness and joy. And I think that, before I go, that's one of the reasons I think Wicked is really going to resonate with a lot of people, because the last couple of weeks have been funky for everybody. And Wicked is just going to take you out of all of that and bring a smile to your heart and to your face, and just bring joy on the inside. And it's right on time for the holiday season. And I think it's going to do really, really, really well. But if you haven't seen the clip of my viral video of Cynthia and Ariana running, check that out, because that is some crazy stuff right there. What else are you saying to me? You said, what is this? It's a parent about toys versus tech and 50 army about. Okay, you know what? Now you just spinning. Now you just spinning stuff, because you got jokes. You are killing me right now. You are literally killing me. All right, y'all. So I will be on time next week at 5:00, but I was a little late today because one of my friends had a bridal shower, and I'm like this: friends and family come first before the podcast, because I can always do the podcast, but my friend is only going to have one bridal shower. My friend is only going to get married one time, hopefully. And those are events that you can't make up in life. So those things are important to me, to honor and celebrate my friends and my family when I have an opportunity to do it. So I apologize for being super, super late today, but that was the reason why. All right, y'all. What you talking to me? What are y'all saying now? I can't wait for Dog Man, Bad Guys 2, and Zootopia next year. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon be keeping me on track. And what are you saying now? Oh, you said, okay. Never mind. We saw that already. All right. So you guys, I'll see you on December. Is it December 1st? No. Will it be December? No, it'll be, what is next week? Let's get these dates right first and foremost. I will see y'all on November 24th. November 24th. I will see you on November 24th, right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and give you some films that you could watch with your family while y'all eating that turkey and eating that pumpkin or sweet potato pie, depending on which one you like. All right. All right, y'all. Take it light. I'll see you next week. And of course, all of my reviews that I talk about here can be seen on that crawl right there, thecurvyfilmcritic.com, and all of the interviews, the video interviews, can be seen at YouTube at that little address right there. If you click right there, you can see it all. It's right there for you. Okay. And we'll get rid of that for a second. You can always play it back and find it. All right, y'all. That is it. I have talked for a whole hour. I only meant to do 30 minutes, but I got on that Wicked train and just couldn't let it go. Anywho, I'll talk to you later. Love, peace, and hair grease. See you next time. Bye.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love.